Nearly 79% of all Americans have some form of social networking service, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and we all use it for different reasons. Well, the reality is that they are also using us. There's a lot of controversy that goes behind social networking services, and the question I'm posed today is the current state of the social network acceptable? I argue that it is, but it just needs some small tweaks and adjustments. Its negative impacts, such as data mining and self judgment, they're avoidable and they're actually outweighed by the positives, such as its ability to keep individuals connected and informed. So, first, I'm going to address the negatives, which are that it can collect data from its users and use it however they want. So, from the Journal of Future Generation Computer Systems in 2018, it states that users' sensitive information may be used by the OSN admin and by commercial companies to know the user's preferences and to identify the audience for their advertisement results. So when you install an app or create an account, there's always, almost always, pretty much always, a big long line of text, the terms of service. Well, you accepted those, believe it or not, and on those terms of service, it included that they are allowed to use your information. So, by using social media, you're agreeing that they can have this information. So people often freak out about this, but it is legally something, and we are accepted to agree with that. The International Journal of Information in 2020 states that the information management literature to date has focused on management problems highlighting the asymmetric distribution of power between users and online platforms that collect and exploit personal data. So these platforms that collect your data based on what you like, what your friends like, who your friends are, what your parents are, what they like, it all comes together so that they can turn a profit using advertisements. When you see an advertisement that is more relative to something you have researched or talked about, well, the site has access to that and they want to get advertisement money, so they broadcast that preferred advertisement. That is something that we signed up for, and although it may sound creepy at first, we should have known about it if we read all that text that we accepted in the beginning. Secondly, one of the bigger negatives that I personally couldn't get over with is that social media is generally bad for mental health. From the Cyber Psychology, Behavior, and Social Networking Journal, it states that SNS social networking sites are common context for upward social comparisons, and they have been associated with detrimental outcomes, including diminished self-perceptions, negative emotions, depressive symptoms, lower life satisfaction, and disordered eating. So, there's a lot of evidence, including this, behind the fact that when people go on social networks, they see others who may or may not be at different statuses than them. And oftentimes, when they are at a better status than what they are, they want to be that. Well, a lot of the times that's not the best thing, because then it forces people into thinking that they have bad habits and they are not good people at where they are. And a lot of the time, that causes depression and anxiety. I personally have experienced many friends that have gone through this. But that is not fully negative, because there's some positive that comes out of this. From the Collective Behavior Analysis and Graph Mining in Social Networks Journal in 2020, it states that from the perspective of objective self-awareness theory, self-presentation in social networks often contains a lot of personal information, which may increase user self-awareness. When self-awareness increases, individuals will be more conscious of social standards and therefore form more pro-social behaviors. Now, the term pro-social behaviors sounds pretty bad because it's societal norms, and people often are taught to be afraid of societal norms. But societal norms can sometimes be a good thing. When somebody is given a figure that is often very attractive on a social platform, they instantly think that's a social norm. I'm never going to be like that. I'm a bad human. But a lot of the times, it's more of an accompaniment. Personally, I've had friends in the past who had bad physical habits. They didn't take care of themselves throughout elementary and middle school. That was before any of us had big social networks or even dabbled in that. But as we started to see each other growing up, we came to see that the ones with bad physical habits were hurting themselves, and the ones with good physical habits were, well, looked up to. Now, the social network is not much different. It can often be a positive thing, more of a looking up to thing. So, somebody with physical habits can be accompanied by the social network, along with personal in-person friends, and see that, maybe I just need to work on being a better person rather than trying to, oh, I'm a bad person. Maybe think of the positives. So a lot of the fear of social networking just comes from a bad perspective. And lastly, social media is more good than it is bad in the fact that the positives outweigh the negatives because social media has a lot more than positive image and data mining. It keeps individuals connected and it keeps them informed. From the International Journal of Information Management in 2018, social media is ranked as the fourth most popular source for accessing emergency information. It has been identified that government institutions are using platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, and blogs to communicate with their communities. So a lot of the time, newer generations specifically are becoming less and less attached to the news, and they look less to the news because it is informed that the news often has a lot of bias. Well, social networking is not too much different, although a lot of the time it excludes the bias. Social networking, actually, such as Instagram and Facebook, have a lot of political content on it. And with that political content are links to official government websites. That is unbiased information, the statistics. So when somebody goes onto a social network, they often are informed on current political debates, problems, environmental problems, and a lot more comes to social media than just seeing friends and family. But that's also a positive. Seeing friends and family is very important, and the social network allows us to do that. In November of 2016, the JMIR Mental Health Journal states that social aspects of the internet have been argued to augment social relationships and support mental health. SNSs are, in particular, connect us to friends, families, colleagues, strangers, and celebrities, and can help users to make new friendships, express thoughts and feelings, and express identity. So when you get a social media platform, this is honestly the root of why I got it, and I'm sure many others, to connect with friends and family. And there is a lot of positives that go into that. Just instead of thinking about how the mental thought of wanting to be somebody else, a lot of the time it's just being updated with family, being updated with friends, seeing how they're doing. A lot of the times we aren't able to do that, such as in the life of COVID, where we cannot connect with everyone. Well, the social network enables us to do that. And although the social network has negatives, it has positives like that, which, well, without it, I'd be a lot farther away from my friends than I'd like. So overall, this current state of the social network is acceptable. Should it be tweaked? Yes. The exploitation of data and selling it to different countries is illegal, and it is something that is not in the terms of service, and it is being looked into currently. But there's ways that we can educate before we even get new forms of social network. We can educate ourselves on letting us know, hey, social networks, they often lead to mental depression and anxiety because self-comparison. And they also have negative impacts and can collect your data if you're not against that. So basically don't use that if you don't accept the terms.